What's up everybody, welcome back to DoubleT Gaming. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Apologize if I sound a little bit different, I am currently a little sick, but not as sick as NordVPN, your own personal. Just kidding, I'm not sponsored by NordVPN, nor have I ever been paid or sponsored by any company to make any video on my channel. That is including both Turtle WoW and Ascension as well, which I've seen a lot of folks asking me about in the comments. So I just want to make sure that is clear from the get-go, because if I was partnered with Turtle at all, I don't think they would like me making a video like this. And that is asking the question, is Turtle WoW actually scared right now, and should we as fans of Turtle be a bit more concerned than we have been? But first, of course, sub to the channel for everything Classic Plus and everything Blizzard lawsuit related. But anyway, this is going to be one of those discussion open-ended type videos where I really rely on reading your thoughts down in the comments below. So for me personally, I want to make sure this is clear at the very start that I am pro private server, and I've said this in the past. I think it's awesome when a game has such a dedicated and talented fan base that they are able to build off of the base of that game into something that thousands of players enjoy. I especially think it's awesome when something like a private server is able to give you an alternate version of that game, like a Classic Plus in Turtle WoW, or even an instant 60, 70, or 80 PvP server for the high-end players to practice on, which a lot of the top PvPers in Classic WoW do practice on an instant 60 private server. Sodapapa himself has said this in the past. But as much as I am pro private server, I also completely understand that it is well within Blizzard's rights to sue or try and shut down any server at all. World of Warcraft is Blizzard's IP. As much as we want to say that they've neglected the IP, or that the work is too derivative from the original game that shouldn't even classify as their IP anymore, realistically, I don't think any of that will ever hold up in any court of law. Court of public opinion? Yeah, for sure. But I think at the end of the day, it's a clear-cut case of copyright infringement, and Blizzard can attempt to do whatever they want with it. So in comes Turtle WoW, which has probably been the most public private server since Nostarius almost a decade ago now. Servers supposedly hosted in Russia with pieces in Kazakhstan and members of infrastructure around the globe. When the lawsuit first dropped in late August and I made that first video on it, I didn't know what to think exactly. But in the comments of that video, and as well as in the world chat on Turtle, everyone was pretty confident that none of this would matter. That US jurisdiction would do nothing for a server located in Russia, and this could be ignored completely. Which I still think part of that is true. I don't think that any US judgment would be able to affect a server hosted in Russia, where they don't really seem to care about breaking copyright law for something hosted in the US due to political stuff that I'm not going to talk about. But now, based on Turtle's recent behavior, I'm not entirely sure about it. But first, let's refresh on where things stand in the court case as of today, October 20th. Right now, Blizzard has officially served Josiah Zimmerman, a member of Turtle WoW's team that is based in Michigan in the US, and are actively trying to serve the other defendants listed in the case, which are all international. At the same time, Blizzard also recently filed for an ex-parte application, basically saying they want to get a jump on some early discovery to uncover as many names as possible in the Turtle WoW network, possibly without even letting people know that the investigation is happening. Zimmerman and his lawyer are fighting against this right now, with his lawyer basically saying that this whole lawsuit was originally constructed under the claim that Blizzard has done a months-long investigation to find Turtle WoW. But if they just googled WoW private server, they could have found it immediately. And the Turtle WoW website has been around for years. And if Blizzard wanted to do something, they should have done it way before 2025, so there's no way this case is urgent enough to warrant this type of early discovery. But just a quick little sidebar. As much as I love Turtle WoW and what they've done with the game, they haven't really made things any easier for themselves. For months now, Turtle has been taking random shots at Blizzard on social media, basically poking the bear as much as they could. None of these tweets were ever publicly acknowledged at all by any team at Blizzard, but you have to assume that they probably saw them. So it's one thing to be a private server and be as under the radar as possible to try and not draw too much attention to yourself. It's another thing to almost publicly taunt a company who you've taken the IP from and are also monetizing it in your own way. Again, I am pro private server, but I am also a realist in the fact that in any aspect of life, if you know you're technically doing something wrong, don't go flaunt it to the person who you are wronging, and then almost kind of change your tone a bit when that other party has some type of retaliation. But again, who knows where this retaliation of Blizzard might lead, or if it will even matter in keeping the servers running. But seemingly around the same time these last motions were filed, or at least in the last 2 weeks or so, the one message that publicly acknowledged this court case on Turtle's Discord, where Turtle had said that Turtle WoW was here to stay, has been deleted. So it's realistic to think, in my opinion, that Turtle might be a little bit more worried than they have been letting on. And then of course we have the letter that came out this past Friday, which yes, on the surface spins the court of public opinion mainly in favor of Turtle, painting Blizzard as the bad guy almost, putting them in the spot of they either ignore it, continue with the case, and still feel like the bad guy to most people, they reply to it, say no, again portrayed like the bad guy, or they reply to it, say yes, drop the case, and we all live happily ever after, which I think is the least plausible route a company like Blizzard would take. Turtle does list out major companies and major games that have gone down the route of licensed framework for fan-made content to thrive and be used, but of the games they did list, the only two that are really similar to WoW at all in the genre of MMORPGs would be Project 1999 and City of Heroes from Daybreak and NCSoft. And Daybreak is actually in another lawsuit right now with a different EverQuest private server called The Hero's Journey for copyright and trademark infringement. And City of Heroes was only able to come back under NCSoft officially because they agreed to completely stop monetizing and keep it non-commercial after the code was leaked and the server was created. But to be fair, Turtle does say in this letter that they would bend to whatever is required of Blizzard. But do we think that Turtle would be able to cut off all monetization and do what City of Heroes did? I have no idea. But with everything going on, the letter almost reads like a last-ditch peace offering type plea almost, especially since it was released a couple days after Blizzard's motion to try and search for the rest of Turtle's team. So I think there may have recently been some type of shift in mindset on Turtle's end about this whole thing. But there is a pretty good chance that whatever legal counsel the rest of Turtle has probably told them to cool it with the digs, delete any type of defiant type posts on Discord, and try to plead with Blizzard rather than trying to make it any worse. But it also kind of feels like to me, again, that Turtle may be a bit more concerned about the lawsuit than they originally had let on. Now let me just say this again, because I'm not trying to poke holes at anything Turtle related or what they're doing against Blizzard. I want Turtle to stay around. I don't care how it happens, I just want them to continue doing what they're doing, because it is the most pure and fresh Classic Plus experience that you will have. Even if Blizzard were to do something themselves, it would not hold a candle to what Turtle WoW has done. Honestly, I think the most win-win situation would be that if Blizzard somehow, some way gives Turtle the okay, tells them that they would host the servers or just let them continue as is, just under our, ownership, but to stop monetizing the cosmetics or bags or whatever it is, just stop with the money completely. And Blizzard would either A, hire them as developers, which of course won't happen, or B, Turtle would take the route that the City of Heroes private server team did, which would be to reorganize as a non-profit foundation with donations going towards only infrastructure and hosting costs but not pay any individual. And any member of Turtle team would just be considered as a volunteer. Again, not very realistic if you want a full-time development team developing your game. And this piece is one argument that I've seen a lot of anti-private server folks talking about, because they're basically saying, hey, if you're this passionate about it, then just don't monetize it, don't get paid for it, just act as a volunteer. It won't be, as bad as it is when there is money involved. Or C, they would pretty much take everything Turtle WoW has done, which I think Blizzard has stated they want to do in the court case, fold it into official Blizzard run servers, and basically buy out Turtle for it. Again, not very likely that they would do this willingly unless they really want good public reputation, because, they own the IP to begin with, and that's what they're after in this court case. But if they do want to win the private server crowd back, if they were to take over Turtle, this could be a nice way to do it. Turtle's structure now really relies on kind of three things. One is player donations, of course. Then it's a team of probably less than 100 people across the globe running the entire enterprise. And then their own creative IP layered on the base of WoW. In order for Turtle and Blizzard to work together, they'd have to give up probably two of the three of those things. The monetization portion of private servers is definitely the most important piece that Blizzard will probably focus on. And if Blizzard ever somehow worked or hosted Turtle WoW, Turtle would have to stop taking donations and get paid either directly through Blizzard or not at all and just work as a volunteer. But I know I kind of just went off tracks a bit near the end there. Bottom line, as much as we hate to say it, for whatever reason, even with the geography in places like Russia not caring about US jurisdiction, I think it's hard to not admit that there is something else going on behind the scenes that may have made Turtle a bit more concerned than we originally thought. But anyway, I know I accomplished a whole lot of nothing with this video once again. Bottom line, I'm just trying to be as real as possible when it comes to this and just, be as realistic with the possible outcomes that we could have. Do I think the servers themselves are going to be going anywhere? I don't think so. But I think the actual team members of Turtle are growing more and more concerned, so if anything, they'll act on the servers rather than Blizzard acting on the servers, if that makes sense. But like I said in the beginning, this was more of an open-ended discussion type situation, and I really want to read what you guys have to say in the comments. So what do you think? Is Turtle a bit more concerned now than maybe at the beginning? Hypothetically speaking, what would a Turtle and Blizzard partnership even look like? I might make a video on this in the future, but let me know down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, sub channel for everything Classic Plus. Thank you guys for watching. This is DoubleT Gaming. I'll see you guys in the next video.